Hello, I'm Dannika Warburton from Investability, and today I'm joined by Paul Bennett, the Managing Director of Medallion Metals. Hi, Paul. How are you?
Morning, Dannika.
So recently we've had a lot of investor queries come through on the transaction that you recently announced also with IGO to acquire certain assets from the Forrestania nickel operation. I thought we could address some of those today and get your thoughts. So jumping straight in, we've got a question on deal progress. Could you please provide a bit of an update on the status of negotiations and when we might expect to receive binding documentation?
Yeah, sure. Look, so important to note straight off the bat that the commercial arrangements that we entered into with IGO was, in the first instance, an exclusivity agreement. So that exclusivity agreement extends, and that's to provide us with the opportunity to negotiate the acquisition of Forrestania. That exclusivity period extends for 9 months, so to May of 2025. And then we've got the ability to extend for a further 3 months. So there's plenty of time to get this deal done. We're well advanced on that front. I think that getting to binding docs before Christmas is probably unrealistic, but hopefully early in the new year, we'll be in a position to provide an update and provide some clarity on when that's going to close. There's a lot of work going on, so we're deep in the due diligence process. We've done a couple of site visits. We've got a couple more planned with different areas of focus, and that's really principally on the status of the process plant and the gold prospectivity across the Forrestania tenements. So yeah, a lot of work going on there, and there's certainly, we're just seeing more and more opportunity.
And so just to clarify, what are the key milestones that you're looking to achieve to get those conditions precedents ticked off?
Yeah, so we're still to finalise the conditions precedent, but the key one will really be final investment decision. So that's another thing that there's been perhaps some confusion over, and that's the nature of the deal terms. So we're talking about assumption of the rehab liability at Forrestania. Now, we think that's going to be in the range of $25 to $35 million, and at the higher end of that range, most likely. Now, that's a non-cash item. We're just assuming that liability at some point in time it needs to be addressed, but not until the mine comes to a close. And we think we've got an extended mine life there. And then the residual cash, which should land at around $15 million, that's payable at final investment decision. So that's the key milestone. We think we need to get to binding documents in the first instance. And then in terms of getting to the final investment decision itself, the key issues there are permitting and having the study complete, the bankable feasibility study. So a lot of work going on in the background to get to those points. We think mid-2025 will be there.
Okay, brilliant. And some investors have had some queries around your strategy to acquire a nickel operation or the infrastructure. Could you shed some light on converting the plant for gold production?
Yeah, I can understand that. If you're not close to our project, what the question always comes up: what are you doing buying a nickel mine when you've got a gold deposit? But if you understand the mineralogy of the Ravensthorpe ore body, you'll understand why Forrestania makes so much sense. So ours is principally a gold deposit with a significant copper credit. The mineralogy is very similar to Volt's Deflector project. And anyone who knows Deflector will know that the process route there is gravity, flotation, and then a leach step to recover the copper and the gold. We'll be employing exactly the same process route at Forrestania. Now, Forrestania is a 600,000 tonne per annum flotation plant. Very well suited to recovering the copper part of our deposit. We will need to make some relatively minor modifications, so put a gravity step at the front end of the plant and then a leach step at the back end. But that infrastructure is extremely well suited for what we're trying to achieve at Ravensthorpe. Now, GR Engineering is our principal engineer helping us with that. They built the Forrestania plant. They built the Deflector plant, so they know this process route and they know our ore body very well. So we're really well placed to make the most of that infrastructure.
And so what opportunities does acquiring the plant present for Medallion in terms of potential production capacity or future growth?
Yeah, look, most immediately, it just provides a low capital, low risk, rapid pathway to production for the Ravensthorpe ore, the high grade sulfide component. So that's the first step here. We have an opportunity then to bring that metal at Ravensthorpe to account. And as we announced a few weeks ago in the resource update, which was looking at the high grade sulfide component, that's 5.6 million tonnes at 4.3 grams gold and 0.6 copper for 770,000 ounces of gold and 36,000 tonnes of copper metal. So that's a significant bank of metal inventory there that we will look to commercialise through Forrestania. But that's just step one in this process. That's the ability to commercialise that metal. But then we see opportunities more broadly across the Forrestania tenure. And if you can establish that gold processing capability at Forrestania, then it opens up opportunities in the Forrestania Greenstone Belt, both on the FNO tenure and from the stranded assets that are around.
And on the, I guess the more financial and operational metrics of converting the plant from nickel to gold production, could you please provide an overview of the targets you're trying to achieve there?
Yeah, look, we've got a study coming out in coming days. It's imminent, and it'll put put the metrics, the cost and the production metrics around at least the first stage of the development. Now, just in terms of what we can talk about right now, I think the 2023 PFS at Ravensthorpe's quite illustrative of what we're trying to achieve. So the underground portion of that study demonstrated what the underground mine could produce at Ravensthorpe. So that was going at roughly 500,000 tonne per annum ore production rate, and the grades were circa 4 grams gold, 0.6 copper, high gold and copper recoveries to concentrate and to doré, again using that deflector process route. So if you look at those sort of metrics and then think about processing through the Forrestania plant at that rate, then you sort of come to a 70 to 75,000 ounce per annum on a gold equivalent basis sort of production rate at stage one, with growth opportunities beyond that.
Okay, perfect. And I appreciate that the scoping study is coming out in a few days, and that will probably provide a lot of clarity.
Yeah, that'll have the cost and the production there.
Okay, so you can't share any preliminary sort of insights into the costs or timelines at this stage. Okay. So moving on to permitting and regulatory process. Permitting is always a key consideration in mining operations, as I'm sure you're aware. What is the current status of the permitting process, and are there any anticipated challenges that investors should be aware of?
Yeah, well, as always, all mining operations face a range of rules and regulations to get underway. I won't go through all of them here, but I guess the key legislation that we need to negotiate are the federal and state legislation, the environmental protection legislation, and we call those the primary approvals. So at the federal level, there's the EPBC Act, and at the state level, there's the Environmental Protection Act. Now, we've got a permit under the WA legislation, which would enable us to get going under the sulfide development scenario. So we're in good shape there. At the federal level, we've just submitted our referral to the EPBC. It's done online. That's just gone in. Once there's a valid submission, and that might take a day or two to get to, but then it's 20 business days, and then the minister will make a determination in terms of whether the project needs to be assessed, and then if it does need to be assessed, under what pathway. And important to note, and this is one of the reasons, one of the key rationales for the transaction with IGO, is that it lowers the disturbance footprint at Ravensthorpe, because we're just doing underground mines there. We're not doing open pits. We're not building a processing plant. We're not storing tailings or building big waste dumps. So the disturbance footprint at Ravensthorpe reduces from 250 hectares, which is what we thought it would look like under the standalone development scenario, down to 60 hectares. So that reduces the impact of the project significantly, and we're confident it'll streamline our pathway through the permitting process.
And so I guess you will provide an update to the market in due course, and potentially before the end of the year on that.
Definitely. We'll have clarity on our pathway and our status under the EPBC regulations definitely before the end of the year.
Okay. And to wrap up with, I'm keen to get your perspective on why you think that this acquisition is a good news story for Medallion Metals.
Oh, look, I think I covered it previously, but it's that low capital, low risk, rapid pathway to production in a record gold price environment. That's it in a nutshell. It's just got so many advantages in terms of capital and risk and time to production, time to positive cash flow. It makes so much sense in that respect. And then on the permitting front, it's also got a lot of advantages there as well. But that's kind of the first step in the process. It's the broader opportunity that we really like over the long term. That Forrestania, Southern Cross Greenstone Belt, particularly the southern end, that we'll have the gold rights to. That's a historic gold field that's thrown up significant deposits like Bounty, 1.5 million ounces of production at 5 grams. That opportunity is, that gold field's been locked in a nickel business for over a generation, and we see huge amounts of opportunity there by once you get that gold processing capability established at Forrestania, then it opens up a whole range of growth opportunities. It's just a platform to grow a really significant gold business in that part of the world.
Absolutely. Well, it's always great to speak to you, Paul, and congratulations to you and the team for driving this transformational transaction forward. It's certainly very exciting times for your shareholders, and look forward to getting another update from you soon.
Thanks, Dannika. Great to talk to you.